Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Marvel's Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Season 6, Episode 8 is called Collision Course, Part 1. Full spoilers for the episode as always, and of course our S.h.i.e.L.D. reviews are brought to you by one of our patrons, or sponsored by one of our patrons. Tim Neal is sponsoring these, so thanks to him. It's been a long time since S.h.i.e.L.D's had a Part 1.
It's been a long time since anything I've seen has had a Part 1 in the middle of a season.
Yeah, I mean, S.h.i.e.L.'s had a lot of finales that were two-parters, but they typically aired them as one big two...
Double,
one big two-episode, like, back-to-back thing on the final night. And having finished the episode now, it is definitely the first half of a two-part. It ends on a big cliffhanger.
Do you know what this cliffhanger reminds me of? Like, every cliffhanger from a season of Doctor Who, like, 2 years ago. It's exactly the same cliffhanger.
Of course you go to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Well, the exact same thing.
What? We've got a bomb and we're driving into a thing and...
Yeah. That was one of them.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, remind me, I don't remember if it said, did it actually say to be continued at the end?
It didn't, no. Okay. But I think it was just...
We're just past that now. Yeah, I feel like that not being there is just a choice where TV shows don't want to do that anymore. It's not because, it should be there in the sense that, yes, this is a to be continued episode.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been there, I'd have completely got it. The fact that it ended with, shooting the rocket or whatever it was, so I was looking at it. It was like, yeah, okay, it's pretty clear that okay, this is a to be continued.
I was clearing the way for the cat. He was on the bed and he was jumping over at my lap. And he was eyeing it up and I'm like, okay, right, I'll lift my arm so you get a clear shot. All right. So we're working with Sarge, or Mac's working with Sarge, and they're reluctantly going along with it. They're wanting details first, and Sarge is being, infuriatingly vague.
Yes.
About everything, about how this works, who the real bad person is. And it actually very quickly, because we met s.h.i.e.L.D. last episode, and she mentioned like artifacts on Earth she's after, and we very quickly in this episode get to a point where we realize, oh no, she is directly connected to what Sarge is looking after, and she's looking at the artifacts come from her, right? That they belong to her people, or her specifically, and it's kind of neat that we're dealing with those and that we're actually explaining where they come from.
Yes, because I don't think you mentioned it there. The artifacts are the monoliths.
Oh, the monoliths, yeah. I've just switched to calling them artifacts because that's what they're calling them in this episode.
Yes.
But we get this neat thing where characters in all the plot lines kind of find this out or discover it in different places. Mac and Yo-Yo are looking at like cave paintings and stuff like that, and they're kind of like, there's these rumors of this goddess or demon named s.h.i.e.L.D. and these three things look familiar, don't they? Yeah, little monoliths. And then likewise, s.h.i.e.L.'s on the ship with Fitz and Simmons, and she's like, oh, these artifacts, they can send people through time and space, and Fitz just kind of light bulb goes, monoliths. So we have people in like various plots kind of realizing that this is connected to that stuff. But we have Sarge, who's forced to take two agents with him, May and Skye specifically, although it ends up also including Deke, because he needed a techie to fix his little doohickey.
Realistically, just because Deke doesn't get enough time otherwise. Yes,
Deke needs things to do. And my oh my, Snow Bunny, Skye's reaction to that when they catch them behind the curtain, he says, look, Sequoia dumped me, okay, and Snow Bunny gets me. Snow Bunny? Yeah, no,
I was when Mac offered Sarge a choice, like, right, you can take one of them with you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, please be Snowflake, she's the most fun.
I actually ended up liking what the other two were doing during this episode as well.
The other two are fine, and I did like what they were doing, but she's the weird one that's the most, actively entertaining.
Yes. I don't know, like, because when she first sneaks up behind Deke and scares him a little bit, she's like, you have a very special soul. I think it's shiny. I'd love to see it spill right out of you. And then he just pauses and goes, thank you. No, Deke, that sounds like she wants to cut you open and see your insides.
Did a little bit, yeah.
That was not a euphemism for orgasm.
Hey, I mean, it might have been given where it ends up later.
Uh, I feel like they can mean both in this case. I feel like Snowflake's just the type of character where it's like, okay, sex first, murder after.
Probably, yeah.
That seems.
Although I like this is a recurring thing for her because Sarge is like, oh, I prefer it when you just kill him.
Oh yeah, it's hit or miss. Depending if she takes a liking to you,
Yeah.
sex. If she doesn't, then it's you're going to be a butterfly. Let me kill you. So yeah, so they're on this. So a lot of this is just like them in the truck and trying to like get information out of Sarge. Turns out he's got a magical sword, which will work if he stabs s.h.i.e.l.d. And Skye presses him for information. Aren't you curious why you are exactly like Coulson? Not just look like him, you have like the same DNA. And I actually kind of like the small touch where he's like, DNA, what's that? Like,
Yeah.
what's DNA?
Doesn't even care, doesn't know.
Yeah, and I'm actually wondering if it does come from Coulson in the sense like, is this related to the fact that he was connected to Ghost Rider? Is it something to do with that? Is it related to the fact that I don't know? Because we're starting to talk about demons, and I feel like that sets us maybe down a different kind of path. Because
what I thought was interesting was the way s.h.i.e.l.d. spoke about him.
I know what he is. Yes, that was.
Yeah, and the implication that Sarge has always been saying, "Oh, I'm here to stop the beast," as he calls her,
Mm-hmm.
And stop her destroying things. But s.h.i.e.l.d., obviously, we don't trust her. But the way she paints it is, "Oh, he stole these from us."
Yeah, I mean, there's no chance that s.h.i.e.l.d. ends up being the good guy because she's, obviously she. It turns out she's actually the mother of the Shrikes, right? She's the one in charge of the Shrikes, and she's outright killing people, body snatcher style, with her Shrike birds on the ship, right? I guess the point towards the end where Fitz and Simmons are on their own and everyone else has been taken over as they're barreling down towards Earth, and specifically the structure that we'll get to in a minute. But so there's no way she's a good guy, right? But she really made me doubt. I mean, not that I was trusting Sarge before, like I was always skeptical, but the way she talks about it makes me think that his story's full of bullshit. And
it's an interesting thing where we have no reason to trust her because she is obviously the bad guy, but she had no reason to really lie that heavily at that stage of where she was, and it felt like she was genuinely, had a hatred for this person. The way it came across was somewhat genuine from her perspective, at least the way she believes it.
Yeah, it could be a case of who's worse. It could be that Sarge is still technically the better of the two, and he is still trying to stop her. But when she says, I know what he really is, like, because I mean, for the first time in this episode, we see him actually abandon someone. He abandons Snowflake when he realizes he just can't take her with him. He's like, oh well, sorry. Towards the end of the episode.
Deke's like, she's on our side now.
Yeah, Deke's fallen for Snowflake hard, but to be fair, she does try and help them find the bomb because we find out his backup plan is a really big bomb.
Yeah, big bomb.
Yes, obviously the actual bomb itself not that big, but the explosion we're talking about here, I believe they said 200 miles 200 miles radius, which is pretty big. And as May points out, that includes at least one city in the in the vicinity.
In the vicinity of 200 miles, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, arguably more than one. It depends what they are. Of course, there's a lot of.
They do seem kind of out in the open, don't they?
Yeah. So they could be in the outskirts enough that it is just one city because
it feels kind of Midwesty.
Yeah. There's a lot of places in the US that do have a lot of open land, so I mean, it's not out of the realm. But at the same time, if this was like closer to any of the busier states, then it'd be like tons of cities. So okay, you just jump over the monitor cap, on you go. So he makes his escape. And I love how they bring the portal back. He gets on the roof of the truck and there's the circle drawn.
And you see it drawn on there, and you're like, ah.
But you immediately go, where's he going? Where's he going? Which leads us neatly back over to Jacko and I always want to say Wacko. We're not talking about these two. It's Jacko and Pax. There you go. So Mac promised Sarge that part of the deal of working together, they'd stay in their base, but they stretched the truth a little bit and said, "No, we'll be in our mobile base." So they're in the Big Zephyr, and they have Davis is back. Yeah, Pax is chained up, and Jack was inside the containment pod. Nice that they've got a spare. They didn't use all the containment pods on the Shrikes last time.
Yeah. Could have put them in 2 separate containment pods, but sure.
There's clearly only room on each plane for 1 containment pod. It's got a spot where it can go out the bottom, you know?
Bullshit.
So I love that Pax actually like sort of tricks the guard and like gets out and he frees Jacko, but it's all for nothing. Almost, and I say almost because the one key thing that happens here that does help them is that Jacko takes his jacket off and puts it on the ground when he's outside of the pod. But other than that, Yo-Yo comes in and is like, right guys, killing one of our guards has basically just meant that we're never going to let you just, you know, we have to at least arrest you for murder now, no matter what you do. But she like quickly just chains up Pax, who thinks he's got the upper hand because him and the big guy are, you know, out. And then I love how it takes her a few hits at super speed to get Jacko back in the pod.
The first one gets her most of the way, and then the second one gets her back in.
Yeah, and she's like, "Damn, you're a big guy." Yeah. Which I liked their conversation earlier on when Max like, "Hey, like, I need you by my side during this," knowing that may be kind of awkward because of the past, blah blah. But she's like, "You know, I'm not used to you saying that." It's like, "What? This?" No, calling someone else the big guy.
Yeah, she's like, "Now you know what it's like, always looking up at someone."
Yeah. That's all good. Oh, speaking of Mac, we have to talk about how he convinces Deke to go on this mission on the truck.
Oh, yeah, that is gold.
How about you do this mission, and I won't tell anyone why I'm a shareholder. It's like, oh, you were being serious about that? Damn right, I was being serious. I'm going to tell her.
Like, well, you know, that's also that's necessary. And
it's like. Or even before he gets to like haggling up the percentage, he's like, "Oh, in that case, I'll just tell her then. I'll tell her about this computer thing, this glitch that I saw." Then he's like, "No." And second thought, I was like, "All right, how about 5? No, actually, 10%. I'll take 10%." And you do the mission.
10%, and he's not allowed to use any more shield tech.
Yes. He's like, "This is extortion."
I love that the next time you see Deke as well, he's just muttering stuff going, 10%. What the hell was I thinking?
That's a lot of money. Oh, I love that was not just a one-time joke. I love that we've remembered that Mac's a shareholder, which convinced.
Wait till she finds.
I know.
Out.
Which this is the thing, because they brought it back this time, they are definitely bringing it up again, and she's going to find out.
Absolutely, it's going to be a third time.
Yeah. Rule of threes, comedy. Rule of threes.
Yep.
Has to am. So. Yeah, so they're in the truck and they try to find the bomb. They do find the bomb, but it's like, oh, it's all glowing. This is right at the end of the episode when everything's kind of like, you know, ticking up on all the plots. Of course, something that happens throughout the episode is we see that a bunch of the human Shrike hosts all meet up in this place in the middle of nowhere and let themselves be spiked and start forming a structure of some kind. And the first time I ever saw these things, I said the crystally nature of it reminded me of the Fortress of Solitude. This really reminded me of the Fortress of Solitude.
It did feel like they were forming the fortress, didn't it?
Yeah, just with the dark element of like all these human bodies being the base.
Well, yeah, just the when it pulled out and you saw all just the crystals crisscrossing across each other and you know, building into something, it looked exactly like what you think of as the fortress being built.
Yeah, although Sarge mentions that this is tiny right now. If it gets to, I'll get to 10 times this size before long, and at that point it'll be too late. We have to deal with it now. Which is why he wants to ram the truck into it with the explosive.
Reasonable plan, to be fair.
Outside of killing, you know, millions of people.
No, exactly. But again, in his defense, he's saying, yeah, no, that it is pretty bad that they're all going to die. But in his mind, it's acceptable losses because of, you know, okay, this is planets worth of destruction that he feels like he's stopping.
Yeah, but of course, he goes through the portal on the roof, which comes out of the jacket that Jacko left on the floor. Really nice shot here where it kind of flipped with him going through
it was nice,
the portal.
Yeah. And like I say, very convenient he got his jacket out because otherwise he'd have just been in the pod and tough shit.
I think what I like about that is that it shows how much of just how smart Jacko was, that he had, even though he thought he was out at that point, he thought, just in case, I'm going to make sure the portals.
Yeah, he's not like a big dumb guy, is he?
Yeah, no, I like that. That felt really smart on his part to just make sure that jacket was out there. And no one was going to question it. No, it's not like you was go, oh, I'll open the door and put your jacket in now. Like, no, I've got him in. Of course she thinks that's okay. So he's like, oh, we're on the plane then, so we're going to take the plane. Fine. So they're going to steal the plane. Fizz and Simmons, you know, they get a little bit of intel from s.h.i.e.l.d. early on in the episode. My favourite scene with them, though, by far is Fitz getting jealous of himself by asking about the wedding and like, oh, I'll always be the second husband. I'll never be there for the first one. And he's like, so, and she just about like sort of derails the conversation, and then he pauses and goes, so how was the wedding night? Was it fun? And she gives him this look and goes, yeah, oh yeah, it was wonderful. And he looks devastated, and she goes, but of course it won't be anything like as wonderful as the next time will be. And then he stops being jealous and completely changes gears to,
He goes,
so was
I not good enough?
Oh, was I not good enough then? And the look in Simmons' face when he changes from being jealous to being mad that she doesn't think he was good enough is gold.
She's like, shit, you can't win this.
if she badmouths original Fitz in the timeline, he takes it personally. If she says it was great, he feels jealous. There's no middle ground, and it's
there is no winning here.
No, it's gold. But yeah, so they try to communicate back on Earth. They try to like get those back up, but they can't. Because I thought there was a moment towards the end where they were going to, because they said on the ship that this ship's coming at the atmosphere, we're going to try and contact it. But then we cut to Fitz and Simmons, and he's like, no, we can't contact it. We can't receive.
It just isn't working. Yeah. I enjoyed all the body snatches moments that we were getting with them.
Sure.
Yeah. The guy with the puffs.
Oh yeah. When we saw them like fall out the little jar, they actually look like, I'm convinced these are just an actual like candy they went and bought in a shop, because they just look like because the one that I saw that landed was like a little, almost like a little seashell kind of shaped candy, and it was whatever color it was, because there was a variety of colors, but it reminded me of like that sort of like hollow sugary type of thing you can get.
Yeah, I get it. Do you know what they always look like to me? They look like little like bath bomb things.
Oh sure, yeah.
That's what they look like to me. But obviously these are edible.
No, it look kind of sherbety. Like hard sherbet.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're too hard for regular sherbet.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The hard candy that has like a sherbety feel to it. Yeah. That's the vibe I was getting. We've really spent a lot of time analysing these.
They look delicious, don't they?
These little puffs. He's very protective of his stash as well. He's like, no, I'm not sharing.
And that's how the other guy knows. It's like, hey, he wouldn't have left these behind.
Yeah, but then he gets overtaken, and it seems like the whole crew's been overtaken. So Fitz and Simmons once again are in a pickle.
I'm shocked, I tell you.
They can't keep themselves out of a pickle. To go back to Sarge and that, though, I did like how he keeps kind of questioning Skye, thinking that she's hiding something, and eventually he goes to stab her, and she like uses her power. It's like, oh, there it is. There's the thing. You're not just a hacker.
Yeah, all episode it's like, okay, he's gonna figure it out at some point.
And I think it's worth mentioning May saying that she, for some reason, feels that she can trust him. Like, I actually think I want to put stock in that on some level. I mean,
she typically has a very good instinct.
Yeah, and Skye's ready to question and says it just because he's wearing Coulson's face, but it makes me think that on some level he does in some way come from Coulson, or he is ultimately trying to do the right thing, even if he's obviously an extremist.
Methods.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see where that goes, but now I did a big cliffhanger. All this, the ship's coming down, the truck's got the bomb in it going towards the structure. Sarge is on the plane. He's going to try and take over. All this stuff's going on at the same time. That's big ticking time bomb, literally. And
you've got Mac and Yo-Yo debating what they're going to do. Do they blow up the truck, sacrificing their team, but doing it so it's out of range of of the city, presumably? But also that won't stop the tower. Do they? They're at one point question just firing down the ship, but then they feel like they're just doing Sarge's work for him without questioning them. So they're having a bit of a moral quandary there as it ends. I'm sure it won't matter because Sarge will just come and take the bridge from him.
Yeah. Or try at least. We'll see how that fight goes. Because Yo-Yo is very capable, as we see. I think they have to.
She is, but they'll have the element of surprise.
Yeah, if they quickly take out Yo-Yo first, then they've
probably got it, haven't they? They've
got a fighting chance, yeah. And then after the cliffhanger, we still get our post-credit scene, as it were. With Enoch. Enoch's didn't last long before we saw some more Enoch. He's getting together the Chronicon. All the different pods of Chronicons that have been scattered throughout different planets. He wants to unite everyone and bring them together. But we also see the evil Chronicon, the Hunter, from before, and with another hunter dude, and they're like, yeah, we need to find the Fitz and Simmons, and Enoch's
And they're
lost it.
like, and they actually say, do you know what? We don't need to find them. We've got their minds already here. So presumably they kind of made a copy when they were in that machine.
Here's what I'm thinking from this though.
We have an AI of Fitz and Simmons in there.
I'm not sure. Like, we'll see. We'll see if this means there was duplicates made, or if it's just like they recorded their minds. Because I think Fitz and Simmons still have their minds. I don't think they stole anything. Or
oh no, they didn't steal it. Absolutely not. No.
But here's what I'm thinking might happen from here. I think this might lead to some Nazi Fitz and grudge due on Simmons being in the real world. I feel like we're going to. Their computer scans of their minds are going to lead to having those two around. Mark my words. Yeah. Mark my words. If anything, I hope the next episode is just this Chronicon. Well, not the next one because it's obviously going to follow up in the cliffhanger. But I want an episode of the Chronicon jacking into their minds in that machine,
running away from Leopold,
and just being like devastated by the evil versions of both characters. Like he had no idea what he was getting into, not even close. I think that could be fun. I could be into it. This is a weird one to like review on its own. It's always weird with a part one of two because
it is very much unfinished by its nature.
Yeah, like none of the plots have resolutions. They all just kind of build up to a middle cliffhanger kind of thing. And
yeah, and it is a proper cliffhanger, traditional sense of the word in part one here.
And it's typical, like the time, and this is always true for S.h.i.e.L.D. for me, but it went in so fast that when it got to the logo at the end, I was like, wait, what? No.
Yeah, you feel it even more because usually at least you can feel things wrapping up. You can feel, okay, plots are concluding. You're like, okay, you're getting to the end on some level. Whereas here, we're still all in kind of setup territory for the most part. So you don't realize how far in you are.
And I think the nature of this conversation was a little bit different as well, because normally we'll work through kind of plotline by plotline, and I tried to do that, but I was jumping around a little bit more, and I think the reason for it is because none of them have resolutions. There's not clear arcs in each one for me to like follow in my head. They all kind of just go up and stop.
Yeah, and the problem is all of them literally end at the same point. They're all converging.
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes this thing where I want to talk about each one up until that point, and then I can talk about all of them ending together because they all end in the same place, or sort of thing. Which is not a big deal. I mean, the episode. This is not a complaint. The episode's really good. It's just been a long time. It's been a long time since we've talked about a two-parter like this. It's weird.
Yeah, we don't have them that often.
No, either we watch a show where it's so serialized that everything's directly following on from where the last one left off.
Yeah.
S.h.i.e.L.D. is one of the few network shows we still cover, and it does very much have a plot in each episode, but not to the same extent that other superhero shows have. Like, if you're talking about the CW shows, which are nowhere near as good by and large, they typically have more Freak of the Week episodes and things like that.
Yeah.
Too many, in fact.
But even the only one of those shows that even comes close to competing with S.h.i.e.L.D., Legends of Tomorrow, is a cartoon for all intents and purposes. It's very much, here's your thing this week. And there are overarching plots and character beats, don't get me wrong, but typically the episodes are mostly, here's the shtick this week.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair to Legends, I thought that last season actually did set off a lot of nice plot lines that it paid off with at the end of the season.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, more than it had ever done before. So I mean,
but it did them while still having the kind of the Freak of the Week format for the most part.
Yeah, whereas obviously S.h.i.e.L.D. does have episode by episode plots, but especially post season 1, I would say like it filtered out over time, where more and more it just feels like the next part of the serialized story, as opposed to
like everything this season has felt in advancing this singular plot. It hasn't been like different threats coming from all over the place. Yeah. I mean, it's always been no. It's about the strikes and Coulson and and then Fitz and Simmons, getting them back together and safe. It's always been just in advance of those plots.
Yeah, and obviously now we're at the point where they're converging. I'm looking forward to Mac meeting Fitz again. Like, I'm hoping they somehow get communications up or something, and we hear his voice comes over the comms, and maybe they're about to shoot down the ship, and they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's Fitz. It's Sparkplug.
That would be good.
Sparky. What does he call him?
I'm forgetting now because it's been so long.
It's been something like that. Because he said that a few episodes ago when he was talking about him, when he found out he was alive. Because it'd been a long time since he'd called him that before. That was a very season 2 thing. Do you believe there was a season of the show where Mac wasn't there? Mac wasn't in season 1.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's just weird. Weird to think that. Dear. I love how IMDb's description describes this, actually. To face the galaxy-hopping hate beast that eats planets. That's how they describe s.h.i.e.l.d.
It's pretty good.
Hate
Galaxy-hopping hate beast. That's a hell of a title.
That eats planets. Sorry not to think of Galactus when you hear the eats planets part.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, no, she makes me think of him in any other way. No. Assuming she actually, eats planets. We'll see how true that part ends up being. But actually, what I'm thinking, Enoch's thing is going to lead to. I think ultimately we're going to have a cavalry of Chronicon fleet coming in to help and save the day at the end of the season. I think that
could be cool. Yeah.
I could see that's where it's leading to, where they're down, they're outnumbered, and then Enoch is basically on your left, and tons of Chronicon ships come in. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's episode 8 though. We'll be back for part 2 next week. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can support the show, of course, by rating us on your podcast app, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. Helps other people find the show. You can, of course, go to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, much like Tim Neal, who sponsors this show. But you can support us over there for as little as $1 per month and get some stuff early, get some bonuses of certain shows and other things like that. And, of course, more and more in some of the other tiers. So go have a look.
Before we go, just like I said, I don't know how long it had been there, but there was a cursor over my face then, and I didn't appreciate it.
I'm so sorry. I was just making sure I got the correct name for the sponsorship. How dare I?
Yeah, how dare you?
How dare I pull up my Windows Post-it note with my list of names on it?
Dick. So the worst part is, it wasn't even immediately noticeable because it was like one of the a Word document cursor, when you got the bar, like almost like a letter I. It was one of those ones.
I love how much time we're spending on this, even though it's not in the recording. This is something only you see.
Well, I don't care. I want it to be known that I didn't appreciate it.
It's not in the recording, so that was just blabbering for a minute for no reason, complaining from the ginger.
Isn't that like 90% of our content?
70%. Come on, give us some credit.
Sure.
Give us some credit. As for other stuff, check out other content we are doing. We are working through Stranger Things Season 3 at the moment, as we are Too Old to Die Young from Amazon. Weekly reviews going up of Legion, Big Little Lies, The Handmaid's Tale. We're almost returning to Star Trek The Next Generation. We'll be starting Season 2 of that very, very shortly. We finished Season 1. We did all the original series, so have a look at that stuff.
We just finished Dark Season 2, so all of those reviews are there now.
Indeed. So, and as for the superhero stuff, me and Matt just talked about Spider-Man Far From Home. That review's up on the YouTube, or you can find it on the Mailed Fuzz Movies podcast feed. So, that is us. So, thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?